Did you know, as of 2022, the majority of millionaires and billionaires are actually self-made? That means that they had to earn their wealth themselves. But outside of just earning, they also had to make sure that they were managing their finances properly. Otherwise, they just lose that money. Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The systems that we're going to look at are the same ones that these one percenters use in order to manage their money, and coincidentally are the same systems that I've been using since I was a teenager in order to retire early and afford multiple investment properties. Let's get into it. If you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about something called the cash flow quadrant. And this is the major difference, or one of the major differences between the way that most people manage money and the rich manage money. You see, rich people don't really focus on the static amount that's in their bank account or in any one of their accounts for that matter, because they have multiple. But what they do instead is think about the amount of money that's flowing in and out of that account month after month. And the idea is that if we have more money flowing into the account than flowing out of it, then we'll be good. So while the cash flow quadrant was great for its time, the thing is technology has kind of evolved since this book has come out, which is the reason why I like using spreadsheets. And that's what we're going to be doing in this video, is using a spreadsheet in order to track our expenses. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but trust me, if you understand these systems, you will never be broke again. Okay, so this is the way that I would set up my spreadsheet in order to actually capture the cash flow month after month. In our spreadsheet, the idea is to really dial in the amount of expenses that we have month after month. That's going to be the first step. It's actually important for us to be kind of generous with these numbers. We want to overestimate instead of underestimate, because we'd rather save too much money for the things that are coming than not enough and then not be able to pay them. So what I'm going to do is just look at some average numbers, which I've already looked up, and you can follow along with me. But where I live, average rent is going to be somewhere around $1,700 a month. Just because I wanted to save you some time, I decided to cut this part out of the video. But basically all I did was use Google to look up the average water bill pricing in my area and average car note in my area and all of that type of stuff. And once I had that data, I just put it into the spreadsheet right here. And then I went on to look at my expenses. If you're not trying to use average numbers and you want to use your own numbers instead, then you can use Rocket Money and just plug in your bank account and credit card information and it'll tell you all of your expenses. Or you can do it manually by looking at your actual bank statements and basically tracking everything piece by piece. I highly recommend using Rocket Money. It's really easy. Plus it helps you save money on bills. So if you want a link to that, you can find it in the description. 5862, right? Or $5,862.50. So this is about how much our hypothetical life costs in this example. I encourage you, if you're following along with this, to go ahead and use your own numbers. The other thing about this is you'll see that it's broken up into 3 sections. And if you've ever watched any other videos that have to do with budgeting or managing your finances, you'll see that they talk about the 50-30-20 rule or the 60-30-10 rule or whatever. And basically what they're saying is that 50% of your income should be going towards your needs, 30% should be going towards your wants, and then that remaining 20 or 10%, depending on what ratio you're using, is going to go towards your savings and investments. But here's the thing. If you're someone who's looking to become more wealthy, right, and you want to be able to pay for more things later without having to work for it, then it makes more sense to increase the ratio and put more of your income into the investment slot. One of the key differences between people who are working class versus people who have just way too much time on their hands and have the tendency to retire early is that the people who are retiring early are buying things and investing in things that are going to pay them without having to do things at all. This includes things like dividend stocks or rental property, and right now even car rentals, since you can rent them out on things like Turo. Anyway, once we have our actual spreadsheet set up, the next step is going to be to plug in all of our expenses. Once again, these expenses on this sheet are ones that I just took from averages that I anticipate a lot of people are seeing. Like, for example, I know that the national average for a car note is $750. I know that in my area, the average rent or median rent is about $1,700. I implore that you take your actual figures, and if you're having issues finding those figures, then you can use a tool called Rocket Money and make a free account, connect your cards and your bank account to it, and it'll get all this information for you and tell you exactly how much you're spending on each one of these items. If you're interested in using this exact spreadsheet, then you can find a copy of it in the description below. And if you'd like to use Rocket Money in order to see exactly where your money is going and how much you're spending on each one of these items without having to look through all of your bank statements yourself, then that link can also be found below. Okay, so now step one is complete. We have all of our expenses actually accounted for in our sheet. Next, we're going to look at our income. Once again, if I'm going off of the averages, then I know that the average income is about 4,900 bucks a month, which actually still puts me in the negative when it comes to my overall cash flow a month by about $900. So I probably need to get some type of side hustle or job if I want to make money month after month and not have an issue when it comes to my finances. Either that, or I can look back into my expense column and figure out the things that I can cut out. Now, because the intention is to become cash flow positive, what I'm going to do is start looking into side hustles that will actually help me get some extra income. For the sake of this example, I'm going to go with Lyft as my income stream number one. Now, I know that with Lyft, I'm able to make another 250 to 500 bucks every single weekend. So if I'm able to do that much, then I can go on the low end and say, if I'm making 250 bucks every weekend and there's 4 weekends in a month, then that's going to be an extra $1,000 a month. Through Lyft and my regular job, I'm able to cash flow an extra $38 a month every single month. Now, this isn't necessarily enough for me to buy anything. After all, that only comes out to about $1.35 a day. So if I were to spend that, I'm definitely going to be dipping into money that's supposed to be going somewhere else. But at this point, if I were to do something else, like open up a t-shirt shop or a digital marketing business, or if I tried to do anything else on the side whatsoever outside of Lyft and my primary career, it's 100% going to be profit. Knowing this is what's going to allow me to succeed. And the more I'm able to track this, the more I'm able to know my budget. And I can do a better job of spending or not spending however much I need in order to make sure that I'm good. Now, that being said, this isn't the most perfect scenario because as you can see, we're only cash flowing $1.35 positive a day. That's not necessarily enough for us to truly make a living. Like if we want more for ourselves, if we want to purchase a bigger home or a better car or something for our kids or our family, then we're probably going to need more income. And that's where knowing about side hustles becomes so important. Even though we're cash flow positive now, the fact is that $38 a month isn't necessarily enough to really change our lives. And if we want to have better lives, or if we want better things for our family or children or the other people we care about, we have to figure out a way to make more income. This is where side hustles come into play. If you're interested in learning about those, then check out my channel where I talk about e-commerce, digital marketing, and a bunch of other things that are extremely relevant to exactly this topic. How are we going to make more money in order to actually achieve the lifestyle that we want? Anyway, that pretty much concludes the video. I believe in you. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.